Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you about Seth and their latest album, Morsure du Christ, out May 7th on Season of Mist. The album has 7 tracks, 44 minutes in length, and this is the band's 6th full-length studio album. They are a French black metal band. Now the album was inspired by the fire that happened at the Notre Dame Cathedral, and that fire represents perhaps the break in society moving away from religion and spirituality. The record itself also ties in with the debut album of the band, so there's a sense of continuation from one to the other. So there's a lot of moving pieces, there's a lot of pieces that inspire the creation of this record, and there's a lot for you to digest even before you get into the record itself. Once you get into the record, the fluidity of the album is undeniable. This is a record that doesn't offer any breaks, that doesn't have a bumpy feel as you move from one song to the other. It actually has a very continuous approach from the first to the last track. It's fluid, it's linear, it's dynamic, but at the same time continuous. So this allows the listener to stay engaged with the record from the first all the way to the last song. It's an album that just shows you exactly what's ahead, shows you what the starting point is, shows you the roadmap, and shows you where the finish line is going to be. Once you get into the soundscape of the record, the album really lives off of the volume that it creates within itself. It's just an album that just expands all the time. And there's 2 layers to it. There's the motor that drives the record, and that motor is really taken apart, or if you take it apart, really you could see the drums and guitars being that force that drives the experience of the album. And then on top of that, you have this incredible atmosphere that's created by the keyboards. These are the 2 main layers, the 2 main parts that really make up the soundscape of this album. If you look at the keyboards, you'll see the impact that they have. I thought at the beginning that perhaps they're going to have more of a symphonic impact in the atmosphere of the album, but that's not the case. They actually make the album feel like a movie score, like a soundtrack. You don't feel like you're just listening to a record, you feel like you're listening to a movie. That's the main idea that I took away the first time that I listened to this record. And that stays true throughout the whole album. It never really goes away. The way the keyboards are used always have that perception to it, or they always give that perception to the songs. They don't drive the experience, they just drive the atmosphere that the tracks have. And that's an important element that really encapsulates the overall experience of this record. Underneath it, like I said, you have the motor, the drums and guitars. The drums are a little bit more consistent, they ground the record, they show some heaviness, and they're really the foundation of this album. They don't change too much from track to track or even within the tracks themselves. The goal that they have or the design that was put forward for them is really clear from the beginning. It's that foundation, it's that pillar, allowing the album to have some weight, to have some substance, so that the other elements can fluctuate a little bit, be a little bit more dynamic, be a little bit more eclectic, if you will, but to have something that you can come back to. The drums are definitely that home base, if you will. Then you have the guitars, they drive the experience parallel with the drums, they work really well together, the 2 really push the album forward. But the guitars go a little bit more outside the box, unlike the drums. They're a little bit more diverse, sometimes a little chunky, sometimes a little gritty, sometimes a little bit melodic, but they're always pushing the album forward in parallel with the drums. The 2 really work well together. This is a record where the 2 really intertwine well across every single song, sometimes really hard to tell them apart as far as what pushes the record forward, what is the igniter of the force, what gives intensity and aggression to the album. They just sometimes become really well combined to the point that it's hard to tell them apart. On top of all of this, you have the vocals, another very consistent element throughout this record, from the beginning all the way to the end. A few things to say about the vocals. First off, I like the fact that they come from deep in the mix. They feel like they come from the middle of the mix all the way into the forefront. I never felt like they actually broke through. There's this mist in the air that's created by the atmosphere of the album, by the atmosphere of the sound, and the vocals try to penetrate through it, but I don't feel like they are able to, so they always stop short of their goal. But that's an important element because it gives a different aura to the way the album is perceived and to the way the album comes across. It has a direct impact in the lyrical content as well. On the other side, I also like a little bit of the backing vocals that were used sporadically throughout the record. At times you have some songs that gain a lot of volume and very quickly as far as the musicality of the song is concerned. When that happens, you need the same to happen to the vocals so that the 2 are pulling in the same direction, they're going together, and you don't feel like the song is broken. So by adding backing vocals, you don't change anything to the vocal tone, you don't change anything to the delivery, but you do add more volume so you're able to match well with the soundscape that's happening within the song. Overall, this is a very interesting, well-created record. So far, I would say in 2021, the best black metal album that I've heard. It's just really well crafted, really well put together. It's an album that gives you a sense of simplicity, because it allows you to navigate through it with a lot of ease. You don't feel like you have to work really hard to understand the songs, to understand the direction that the band had in mind for this album. But at the same time, when you look under the hood, you see all these moving pieces. You see how complicated this puzzle really is. So I love the fact that it's a complicated puzzle, but that gives you a very clear and simple picture. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I'm going to start off with Métal Noir, melodic driven track. The keyboards are incredible. They're incredible in this song. They're incredible throughout the record. A track that moves up and down. It has great ebbs and flows. It moves from a more dark, melancholic setting to a more intense and aggressive sound. Those are the yin and yang that this song has to offer. On top of that, the symphonic elements and the backing vocals really add a different level. It really pushes this song to the stratosphere. It makes the song feel a lot bigger, a lot more powerful, a lot more driven. And that is an important element for a song like this, because you feel like this song is getting bigger and bigger as you progress through it. It's a very complex track because it has a lot of elements coming in, but at the same time it allows you to just skim through it and not really feel like you're having to navigate through complicated waters. So the simplicity of outcome really hides the complexity of the approach. Next, Sacrifice de Sang, a song that starts off with an acoustic guitar layer, and I just wish that acoustic guitar layer had stayed more throughout the track because it was absolutely beautiful. It really gave the song a great intro, and it allowed you to kind of ease yourself into the song. I just, like I said, wish that was used throughout the song and not just at that opening. Overall, the song really moves well, musically and vocally. It gains intensity, it gains power, it gains drive. Using the backing vocals on this song, it allows the vocals to overall expand. It allows the vocals to feel bigger. This is one of those tracks that where the sound goes, the vocals follow. And by using the backing vocals, they follow in the perfect manner, making both elements feel really big and filling in all the spaces, all the blanks. But a very driven song all around. Last but not least, Les Océans du Vide. The drums on this track are phenomenal. The drums and guitars. You feel the drums first, then the guitars hit you next. The two work in parallel. They work really well together in order to really feel like you're getting the motor of this song revving. And this song starts to rev and it starts to move. And then you get the atmosphere on top of it that just really encapsulates this song perfectly. Everything is working well. Everything is working together. Everything is driving in its own lane. The sound, that motor, the atmosphere, the keyboards, everything. It takes nothing away from each other. This is a track where you don't feel like the drive, the intensity, the aggression of the song is taking anything away from the atmosphere, and vice versa. They're just working well together in order to create a song that is as powerful as you can make it. Overall, you feel like it's a track that has some breaks, but when you walk away from it, you feel like it didn't have any breaks whatsoever. It just feels powerful from the beginning all the way to the end, very driven, very direct. Like I said, even though there are some breaks here and there, just not enough to really create a change as far as your perception goes. This is it. This is Seth with La Morsure du Christ, out May 7th on Season of Mist. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.